What is up, everybody? Goja851 here, and this is my review of Godzilla Minus One. So right off the bat, I haven't made this very private, my feelings of this film. I've said this multiple times. I've seen the film twice, and yeah, I think this movie's perfect. 10 out of 10. Not only do I think not only is it my favorite Godzilla film, it is my favorite movie to watch. Now, I've seen it twice in theaters. I cannot wait for it to come out on Blu-ray, 4K, DVD, all that jazz, all that stuff. Can't wait for it. As far as it going to American awards ceremonies and being nominated, that is fantastic. And I absolutely hope it wins in every single category that it's nominated for. Now, as far as the movie is concerned, what happens in it? This film is tragic. This film is epic. This film is very well paced. For a 2-hour and 5-minute movie, it is very well paced. It feels like it goes by very fast. You don't feel like you're really watching a 2-hour long movie. It moves along very fast. There are parts of the film where there's a lot of subverted expectations, where you think it's going to go one way and it goes another way. There are many great callbacks to the original Godzilla series. The Showa, the Heisei. Not sure there's any Millennium in there. I'm sure there is. I didn't catch them, but there are some references to those locations, music that they use, and awesome stuff. And it's probably a huge hot take. Okay, that's fine. If you were to take Godzilla out of this film, and you were to focus on the human drama in this film is amazing. The human drama with the tragedy of World War II and being a kamikaze pilot and coming back to a destroyed Japan and having to rebuild your life and having to, live with shame and having to rebuild your life from said shame and trying to move on from said shame. Is it okay to move on from the shame? When you try to move on from the shame, will life let you move on? Things that this movie really, drives home. But the best part of all of this, it's a Godzilla movie. So anyway, we are going to go into the spoiler territory. Okay? So, I already gave my opinions of the film. Let's go ahead into the spoiler territory. So our film opens up as our protagonist of the film lands on Odo Island. Odo Island, from the 54 film, claiming that his plane is having engine trouble. As the mechanics look over the plane, see that there's nothing wrong with it, and they start to, question him a little bit. They don't pressure him too much, but you can tell the pilot has things that he doesn't really want to go through with. Okay? Night falls after the pilot looks out to the sea and he sees that there are some weird-looking fish. Never seen those fish before. All of a sudden there's air raids. What is this? What's going on? Are they being attacked? No. Something else. and they hear a very distinct sound. Yeah. So they start shining some lights, and we see Godzillasaurus. It's a form of Godzilla, but it's a very early on version of Godzilla. It's called Godzillasaurus. Maybe it isn't entirely true. Maybe it isn't entirely, accurate. But in my eyes, I see it as a Godzillasaurus. He's not really breathing fire. He's acting more like a territorial dinosaur at this point. And he goes on a little rampage. Starts destroying the mechanics' town and little base. And they have a moment. They have a moment to stop Godzilla at this point. They send the pilot, they say, hey, go over to your guns and your plane. And if you shoot it, those are 20 millimeter guns. That could kill it. So Shikizima, the name of the pilot, he goes over and sits down in his plane and he freezes. Unable to pull the trigger. Godzilla continues to go on his rampage and he slaughters the mechanics. All of them. Only leaving one alive. Tachibana. Now, Tachibana and Shikizima, they survive the night till the next morning, and Shikizima has to live with this, going out of his duties as a kamikaze pilot, and then going back to his home, and to see that his entire, village, his entire town he lived in, had been bombed. His parents are dead. His neighbor that he knew for all his life, her children are dead. Just tragedy all over. Just tragedy all over this he has to deal with. Then the next morning, or is it a couple of mornings after, he comes across a young woman who's being chased by police, I can only assume, and saying that she's a bandit, that she's a thief, she stole something. She gives over her child, and she runs off. He waits with the child long enough. Eventually he decides to leave, but he doesn't want to leave the child alone. He meets back up with her. They all meet up back at his bombed out home, and they decide to make a little home together. Well, she kind of moves in, but he lets her move in, and they kind of make peace with the neighbor. The neighbor is very upset at this point because her family's dead, and she blames the pilot that if he had done his job, then things would have gone better, but alas, we move along, and a couple years go by, and some more nuclear tests are taken, and one of them is taken where Godzilla is. And we see that he's kind of mutated. Cut to another year later, and Shikizima actually is hired by the government to do undersea mine disposal. So he joins a ship crew featuring the doc, the captain, and the kid. And they go on a wooden boat, and they go out and they find these underwater mines, and they detach them, and they shoot them down with this 18 millimeter gun. This is a little heavy machine gun, anyway. So they start doing this, and they start making money. And things start to kind of turn around. They're starting to fix the home up, and things are starting to look up for the pilot. When all of a sudden, ships start being capsized and destroyed. Seeing a large unidentified creature from underwater is destroying these ships. Okay, so they go out to investigate, and they start seeing the fish. And immediately he knows it's Gojira. So they're out there to stall and to so the destroyer from this that was set to be scuttled is not going to be scuttled. It's not on its way over, and that's when they run into a fully evolved Gojira. And he is far larger than he was, destroying one of the other mine disposal boats, and begins chasing after our protagonist. And it's crazy. The effects used in this just is amazing. And you can sense the urgency of them trying to get away from this massive creature that is Godzilla, trying to outrun him. They can't. They're trying to use the bombs that they've found, trying to slow them down. They're not. Eventually, they pull a Jaws. They have Godzilla actually swallow one of the mines, and then they shoot it, blowing half his face off. Maybe that's hyperbole, but a big portion of his face off. When we see that Godzilla has a trick up his sleeve, he has regeneration, like Regenerator G1 in Godzilla 2000, but, see, it does reference Millennium. But anyway, it's not perfectly like Regenerator G1. He has a massive scar on his face now. Godzilla immediately starts to get out of the water. He's all angry. And then the destroyer comes. It starts shooting at Godzilla. And by the way, sidebar, the effects in this scene are breathtaking. Godzilla has never looked as real as he's ever been in a film than he has in this scene. The other films, I love the legendary films, and I love Shin Godzilla, but you can always tell that they're CGI creatures. This Godzilla from Minus One just looks like it's right there. I literally feel like I can touch it. Subjectively, I feel like I can touch it. It looks perfect. Well, they think they've got him. Godzilla, goes out of he swoops over, kind of like Jaws, on top of the boat. He's trying to sink the destroyer. They shoot him off. It's, okay, we got him. Nope. Breathes fire from underneath, destroys it. Then our heroes are airlifted back to Japan. And then we see that our hero is having more problems. That he still has all this PTSD from what happened in the past, and it's all just building and building and building. And now the reemergence of Godzilla is causing even more problems with him. Come to find out, the young lady who's staying with him now wants to start, getting a job and standing on her own. And in a way, the hero is feeling like he wants to. He tell he feels something for her, but there's something holding him back. And then one morning, something beautiful happens. He says to himself, is it time for me to move on? Is it time for me to forgive myself? Well, the problem is that Godzilla arrives in Tokyo. Well, he arrives, and he goes on his first rampage in town, in the city, and it's epic. They start playing the music from Mothra vs. Godzilla, and he's throwing trains around, and you think that, the woman is there, and you think that she's going to die at several points, and it's like, oh no, is this the part that, no, she's fine. Is this part? Oh no, she's fine. It's like, okay, there's still hope. There's still hope. Godzilla is still stomping around, but there's still hope. It's almost like to the point where she almost dies, and then Shigezima actually goes and he finds her and starts to pull her away from the destruction when Godzilla's dorsal plates start to light up. And they start to light up very bright, and he breathes the most powerful version of his atomic breath, creating a massive mushroom cloud, huge backdraft, blasting this big thing just fully back. She pushes Shigezima to safety, and she's blown away. She's out blowing with the wind. A few moments go by, he comes out, and that entire area is just empty. And all there is just Godzilla standing there, roaring defiantly, like, look what I did. And then Shigezima just screams loud into the day sky as it begins to rain, as Godzilla is roaring in his little victory, in his victory that he got. And then we cut to further on where the doc, who actually works for the government, is actually creating a plan to deal with Godzilla, where you think that they're going to do something like the oxygen destroyer, because that's the way how it looks, with bubbles and everything. No, that's not it. Actually, they kind of take something out of James Cameron's The Abyss. And they want to use the depths of the ocean to crush Godzilla. Kind of like in the film The Abyss, the deeper that you go, the pressure will actually cause you to implode pretty much, or explode. To decompress, and you go pretty much like a beer can. So they want to do that to Godzilla. But if it doesn't work, then they'll cause him to rapidly rise, and that should kill him then. Now, there's a lot to this, plan that could work, couldn't work. Meanwhile, Shikizima is very upset, with himself. Everyone's telling him, oh, you should have married her when you had the chance. And he's like, oh, I couldn't have. My war isn't over. Remember that. So, he wants a plane. He feels now that he has more motivation in this. So he wants a plane so he can help distract Godzilla so they can bring him to an area, to do this and decompress Godzilla and destroy him. Well, the only plane that they can find is this special plane in this special hangar, but unfortunately it needs a mechanic. The one mechanic from the beginning of the film, Tachibana, they actually, calls upon him. He sends out several letters and brings him out of, I don't want to say he brings him out of hiding. He wasn't really hiding. He was kind of secluding himself. But brings him in, and they finally make peace, and they fix the plane. As Tachibana learns more about Shikizima, actually learning about his plight, and how he feels, and trying to move on and forgive himself, from all of this. When he tells him that there's something very special about this plane. Okay? So then, the morning comes. Time to take care of Godzilla. Godzilla arrives, and he's attacking a lot sooner than they thought he would. However, he's able to be distracted by our protagonist, in his plane, and they actually start the plan with the bubbles. And sinking him and stuff like that. I can't remember the plan from the film. Sorry. When the daughter is actually left with the neighbor, and it seems very bleak. Like, oh no, he's going off to die. When all of a sudden she gets a telegram. We don't know what the telegram says, but it's very important. You see her eyes just glow when she says that. So they do the plan. They sink Godzilla, and they think that it works, but then, they see the line is starting to, wiggle, so Godzilla's clearly still alive. They tried to raise him. He bites through the thing. He can't be raised. So they actually have all the tugboats, brought by the kid who was on boat with them earlier in the film, and they actually tow Godzilla up to the surface. It seems like they've got him, but he's not dead enough. He starts to build up energy. He's about to breathe his fire one more time. They got nowhere to go. They can't get away from this. When all of a sudden, Shikizima, flies into Godzilla's mouth with a massive bomb attached to his plane, and it detonates. Now, what was he told earlier by Tachibana was that there is a ejector seat and a parachute. He actually, got out of the plane and survived. But Godzilla dies. He slowly starts to fall apart as the Japanese, soldiers, they look on as Godzilla sinks into the ocean, and we see some of the blue atomic light shining into the sky and eventually dim and go out. So the ship comes back, and our heroes depart the ship, and Shikizima is there. He hugs the kid, job well done bringing the tugboats to bring Godzilla up to the surface. When the neighbor comes, and she's holding the telegram and has the daughter in her arms, and shows him the telegram, all of a sudden his eyes, widen, and they rush to a hospital. And that is where they go upstairs, they open the door, and what do they find? Nanako. That's right, she survived the blast that Godzilla did with his atomic breath earlier in the film. Yep, he falls to his knees, tears of joy, crying his eyes out pretty much that she's still alive. And she says, "Is your war over?" He says, "Yes." Happy ending. Sort of. At least for me, it's a happy ending. But she then dips her head over, and she has this thing on her neck. This black, spot. And it seems to be beneath her skin in her bloodstream. What is that? I don't know. We'll find out in the future, I suppose. Even happier ending. We think Godzilla is dead. Just hang on. We think Godzilla is dead, and all of a sudden we see his heart floating towards the bottom of the ocean. All of a sudden it starts to beat again as the Godzilla theme starts to play. And not only that, it starts to regrow skin around it. Godzilla will return. Mwah. Chef's kiss. 10 out of 10. Perfect movie. Absolutely love it. If you haven't seen this film, do yourself a huge favor. It's still in theaters for the next couple of days. I highly recommend that you watch it. I've seen it in standard twice. I wanted to go see it in IMAX for my second viewing, but they didn't show it in IMAX on Friday. And from what I understand, on Thursday, which is Friday, the day of this recording, they stopped showing it in IMAX for some reason. I don't know why, but it was still fantastic in standard. So, all right, I think I've gone on long enough with this. Godzilla Minus One, 10 out of 10, perfect movie. Absolutely love it. It is now my new favorite Godzilla film and my new favorite, film to watch. Other than that, this is Gojira851. I did a stream / video with DJ Anubis prior to the recording of this video that you're seeing here. I'm going to put a link, somewhere. You can, join in with that. You can watch that. I was on there with several other people, and that was fun. And till next time, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and take care of yourselves.